Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to Money in the Lawn, My FM 101.3, WMRC, Holliston Cable Access Television with Christian Bidet. And I'm your host, John Drouin, with your other host, Jay Marsden from the Marsden Law Group.
We're co-hosts, by the way. You're not the host, you're the co-host.
I'm a host with Jay Marsden, who is also a host. No one carries any more significance, although I am senior to Jay.
Host 1A.
Well, I'm just saying that I'm a little bit older than you are, right? I've been doing this a little bit longer than you.
The living part?
The living part, yeah. I was alive for, think about it, right? 3 months, you
get a real head start,
I'm 3 months older than you.
Oh my God, I look to you for sage wisdom all the time.
Well,
you tell me.
I do
those
look
12 weeks make a huge difference.
I look older than you. Well, think about it. I think about the developmental process, and I think I'm just a little bit. I'm a little bit further along in it.
That's right.
Although now once after you hit 50, then it's just you're a little longer in the tooth than I am.
I like to say you're a little closer to that. We try to explain to clients you're a little closer to the finish line than you were some years back, right? And sometimes they think it's funny, and sometimes they don't.
So we're here on Money in the Law, which, as for those of you who are regular listeners, the regular listeners, you know what we're talking about. For people who are just joining us for the first time or first-time viewers, you'll hear and see two guys talking about things that on normally aren't very exciting, but we have this uncanny ability to make the boring not so boring, to make the mundane very interesting. To make something that you would be like, oh, I don't really want to talk about my estate plan, to some like, you know what, honey, don't change that. I'm listening to these guys.
Makes the convoluted crystal clear. Making the convoluted crystal clear?
I don't know about that.
I
don't know about the clarity of it, but I do know that it's fun to listen to and it's fun to watch. And it's fun to listen to and watch at the same time.
It's experiential.
So it is.
That's the word I like to use.
Yeah, it's almost like one of those. I would imagine if this were ever to get syndicated, can we get this syndicated onto Netflix? Is this something that we can do
on the Netflix,
on the Flix or Hulu? one of those cable things, right? Where you could get. I would imagine this would be something that people would binge watch, not unlike when The Sopranos first came to VHS.
I'm going to go out on a limb here and say that I don't really see us as Netflix and chill material. I'm just going to suggest
you say that now.
I could be wrong. If I'm wrong, please write in. Please,
if I'm wrong,
call in, write in, drive down here right now. All right,
if
we qualify for Netflix and chill material, you let us know.
Enough about us. Let's talk about what we're talking about. Well, actually, let's talk about the weather. We usually do now. What do you think? It's springtime, right?
We're getting there. I'd say we're getting there. I'm all, I have nothing but a love for spring, summer, and early fall, and then the back end of fall. Who cares? It's a nightmare. But we're getting there.
Christmas on
That's right, Christmas and all that other ridiculous stuff. We're getting there. But this is kind of a frustrating time of the year because you're gonna get one of these 70-degree days will pop up, and you're like, we're here, it's ready, and then you wake up the next day and you get your ice scraper out to get your car cleaned off so you can go to the gym. It's that weird, typical New England spring, right? There's just not a lot of continuity to it. So we're getting there. I always feel like I used to always, I have a couple of lines in the sand. One of them is St. Patrick's Day for all the obvious reasons, right? I feel like
because I get to
shave my beard off. We're moving. It feels like we're there. But the other really fun line in the sand is Marathon Monday. Marathon Monday, because as every one of us can attest to, that's one of those days that you could go down to watch the marathon, or if you were running in the marathon, God bless you, it could be 85 degrees, the run for the hoses type of weather where everybody's dying and you're catching a, sunburn while you're watching it.
Right.
Or you could be standing there at a parka, saying to yourself, thank God I'm not running today. It is cold, right? Yeah. But it's that type of, it feels like spring. It feels like spring in New England. The marathon makes it feel like it's air.
So you are a Boston Marathon veteran yourself.
I am a three-time Boston Marathon veteran.
Wow,
yes, three times I've run it. Yep.
So you've been on. Have you ever gone down and watched it downtown?
Oh yeah.
So you've been on kind of both sides of that. I have to say that I've only run it one time, but I enjoyed the other side of it so much more than I did the marathon piece. I didn't have a very good marathon. I didn't have a very good day running.
Built for speed,
No. But I went to the game. So I went to the game. So they'll play the Red Sox will play early that day. So I went to the game and then just kind of spilled on out after the game, and it was a great day. This is a million years ago, but fortunately the weather was good. But you're right. You don't know what you're going to get. You don't know. You could have a great day. You could have an awful day. Either way, It's fun. Either way, it's good. Because
first of all, so two things.
At some point, you're going to drink some beer that day, hopefully not during the marathon, although some fools do that.
You could.
Yeah.
Yep.
But definitely after the marathon, if you were to finish and not be in the hospital, right?
We used to wrap it up, wrap up the marathon, and then it was we basically finished, recovered as quickly as we could at the finish line, hailed a cab, and then we would close out
in your little like pullover like plastic
in your Mylar blanket, right? And of course, so you grab them, and of course everyone's trying to help you out. They're all patting you on the back. Congratulations, way to go. And grab a cab. The cab would drop us off at an Irish bar.
Magoo's.
Drop us off at an Irish bar, and we would refuel at the Irish bar after the marathon. And you walked in, and everybody, everyone's accommodating. Everyone's in a great mood for marathon.
You have your medal that
you get your medal. You get your Mylar blanket. You use it a couple of hours from now. You're using your medal as a bottle opener. You think everything's great, but that's how we
later on lose your medal, right?
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Never to find it again.
But that's how we used to close it out. We'd wrap it up, and once we knew that everybody.
You can imagine, right? That Magoo's at the end of the night, they're sweeping the floor, and there's just like a pile of marathon medals, right?
And Mylar blankets everywhere, right? But it's a great day, and if you've ever, I can tell you, as a Bostonian, if you've ever wanted to run it, it's painful. And it's a physical challenge, and it's a physical accomplishment of, unlike many others. And as a layperson, it's an unbelievable opportunity to really experience everything that could possibly happen on that day. I mean, I have nothing as painful as it was. It's like everything. When it's over and the time moves away, you remember it differently.
The bad stuff.
Yeah. But I'll tell you, just taking part in every aspect of that day, getting dropped off in Hopkinton, the milling around, the getting ready, the building up, the preparing for the race, and the race itself. I mean, if you prepare it to survive it and run it and enjoy it, it's a different training schedule than somebody who's trying to run for time. But there is think about all the things that make Boston, Boston. And,
that's one of the big ones, right?
Not only is it one of the big ones, but you can be part of it, right? I mean, as much as you might think you can go play for the Sox, you're not getting on the field at Fenway, right? But to run them.
I don't know. That I'm still holding out for.
All right, well,
you never
keep
know,
holding.
Right?
Yep. But I mean, same thing. You're a Patriots fan. You want to go to a Pats game, right? No one's going to cheer for you catching a touchdown. But for the marathon, you can train for the marathon. You can get a number. You can run the marathon, and you can have people cheer you on for 26.2 miles. Yeah. And it's the best way to experience a Boston tradition, unlike many others.
I think you still got another one in you?
Oh my God! I don't know. My daughters have always asked me, would you run another one, Dad, if we wanted to run another one? I don't know.
It's a lot of time.
It's a challenge. It's a commitment. The training is brutal, especially because the timing of the training. Nothing says fun like a -4-degree run over on the river. But it's worth it. I'll tell you right now, it's worth it. If you have any inkling of doing it, I cannot encourage somebody, if you can do it, to do it.
Now listen, you might not win if you do it. All right, so just be ready. Like if you're like
one of
those ultra competitive people.
If you finish, you're a winner.
I didn't win, right?
You finish, you're a winner. Because think about it, there are other people who have won it in the past, and for any number of reasons, things don't come together that day, and they don't finish, and you finish. And some people could say, you'll never guess who I beat at the marathon today, right? Somebody who's won it 6 times, but had a cramp issue, had a dehydration issue. I mean, the planets kind of have to line up, right? So it's
lost their
big.
Foot in an industrial accident kind of issue, because that would be the only way I'm going to beat one of those
Step
guys.
in a pothole, go figure, but
run over by a train.
But it's one of the few opportunities to be a participant inside something that is uniquely Boston.
What I don't know, and maybe but so in the old days when I was working in Boston, all the kids at BU, they'd bandit it, right? And I don't know if banditing is as easy as it was in the old days.
We ran it 1 year legit, and then the next 2 years we ran it as bandits. Yeah. And the last year we ran it as a bandit, I got to tell you, they had a decent number of National Guard folk in the back to kind of chase us away. It wasn't something they were really encouraging anymore. So I think you're right that bandit opportunity becomes harder and harder.
In the wake of 2013, I think that made that I know that the security really cracked down in the wake of the bombing. So I don't know. I think
it's a challenge.
But you can get a number. You can get a number when you're sponsored by a charity. There's there's numbers of different ways you can.
A bunch of avenues to get one, but it's worth it. It's worth. If you've ever thought about doing it, I can tell you right now, it was one of the highlights of my life.
And if you qualify, if you're one of those people who can get a number by qualifying,
too legit to quit.
Then you're stupid not to run the Boston Marathon.
Oh, then it's crazy.
Then you're crazy because then you're a marathoner.
Yeah.
Then you're the
then
real
you're legit.
deal.
Then you're legit. So if you can do it, great. If you get a chance to do it, I can't recommend it enough. Phenomenal experience.
Yeah. So that Boston Marathon is coming up this Monday,
yes,
right?
It is.
This Monday. Yeah.
Giddy up. Great day. It's a great day.
Before we get started, I just want to do a quick shout out. I want to do a quick shout out to some. Well, we're shouting out to an organization, and I meant to do this last week, but it's part of my friend Kendall and Riley Marsden signed up for this, but they weren't at the meeting last night.
Yeah, they like their dad.
Okay, yeah,
overcommitted.
All right. So the Holliston Community Action Fund, the student division. All right, so the Holliston Community Action Fund is we are an organization, and your other esteemed host, he too is part of the kind of the founding fathers of this community action fund that we built a long time ago in the Holliston Business Association. So now it's a standalone 501c3. But one of the cool things about the kind of the rebirth of this is we now have a student group, right?
Which I love.
Student group for middle school and high school kids. So and all they're a problem-solving group. They just make everything in town better. So if you're listening and you want to learn more about this, go to hollistoncommunityaction.org and find out about the student group. I tell you what, it's going to be nothing but fun, and we're going to do great things. First thing we're doing is the first problem we're solving is youth substance abuse in the schools and how it affects families. So that's the project moving forward to the end of the school year.
Love it.
All right, so there you go. That's the plug. All right, so what do you want to talk about today?
Well, first of all, I want to recognize today, you joked about this before the show, you made fun of me a little bit. Today is National Siblings Day.
Oh, you're thinking about your sister.
No, I'm not thinking about sisters. I'm thinking on National Siblings Day. We've talked about this on the show. We're not going to talk about this today because we talked about it. We're going to talk about something else. But I just want to give everybody the idea of, as an estate attorney, our job is to try to bring peace and harmony to the distribution of mom and dad's legacy or of someone's legacy as it goes from point A to point B.
Yep.
So on Sibling Day, let's all take a moment to appreciate, recognize, right, our siblings, right? Mine in particular, Sharon O'Connor, Lisa Marsden, who I love to death, right? So, we don't have these types of dynamic issues. We didn't have any of these types of dynamic issues.
No.
But on National Sibling Day, we always recognize that sometimes there can be a little tension amongst the family members. And this is a good reason to remember all the things that mom and dad tried to instill in us from a values perspective so that we can maybe put aside some differences a little bit and help the outcome, which is to really have mom's wishes get carried out and everybody gets what they get and they don't get upset. So on National Sibling Day, call your sibling up, tell them how much you miss them, tell them how much you love them.
And hey, listen, let's go review mom and dad's will right now.
Tell them how much you miss them, tell them how much you love them, and tell them how much they screwed you out of your inheritance. But on National Sibling Day, we're going to put that aside. We're going to call it truce for today. And then tomorrow, we'll get the lawyers back in the room. We're going to fight this out, right?
Really fun.
That's
really
right.
Fun.
It's good stuff. So
and don't get us wrong. We're not saying that you shouldn't have some sort of healthy conflict with your siblings
because of course.
Because the one thing, and I too with my siblings, the one thing that you realize with your siblings that I don't really get this until as you move forward in life, right? And you get older and your relationships change, with your friends and with your acquaintances and the people you work with. So the whole idea of your siblings will tell you the exact brutal truth more than anybody else in your life, and that stays with you forever. So if you look funny, or if you look fat, for instance, right, your siblings will be like, "Whoa, so you're packing on a little pounds." This has happened to me, right, getting ready to do the Thanksgiving polar bear plunge. My sister will be like, "Wow, look at you! You look different from the old pictures."
Nice.
And you're like, "Thank you very much."
If you think you're too cool for school, just ask your siblings.
That's right.
They will keep it real.
That's right. They put you right back. Because you know why? Because they saw you. They knew you long before you were cool.
Oh yeah.
They knew you. They've seen all the. There's no secrets. There's no sugarcoating. There's no like veil that's it.
There's no reinventing anything. Nope. You are
right. There's no like touch ups. There's no like screen enhancement with you.
They see you the same way God brought you into this world, right? In all your glory. That is it. They know. They know. So it's good stuff. Take a quick break. We'll come back. We're talking right now what we are eventually going to get to now that we've covered.
Through the roof.
Now that we've covered everything else.
That's enthusiasm.
Now that we've covered everything else, we're going to get back. We're going to talk about 3 ways to transfer your family business. Very straightforward. We're going to try to make it straightforward. And if you're transferring your family business and it's National Sibling Day, remember, we're going to get together, going to hug it out, and we're all going to embrace the fact that we're now going to fight over mom and dad's business.
And if you don't have a family business, then we can kind of coach you into maybe starting a family business so someday you can transfer.
Just so you have something to fight about. Just so you have something to fight about. So we will be back in a couple of minutes talking about 3 ways to transfer your family business. Here, Money in the Law, My FM 101.3 on National Sibling Day. Jay Marsden with the Marsden Law Group and John Drohan, Main Effort Financial. We'll be back in 2 minutes.
Yeah, your sisters better call in.
And you're back, Money in the Law, My FM 101.3. Jay Marsden with the Marsden Law Group. John Drohan, Main Effort Financial. During the break, Christian pointed out to us that the HCAT does have on YouTube a bunch of Money in the Law videos. So
go back and watch them.
Anybody who wants to go back and watch some,
go back and learn
some vintage Money in the Law, go back and take a look at those things. John said it doesn't have the same appeal as a
true. I didn't say appeal.
YouTube and chill doesn't have the same appeal as a Netflix and chill.
There's a little more work involved with YouTube. You got to click. You got to click every one. Where Netflix, you could just sit there and it's like the next episode will start in 15, 14, 30. Right, it just counts down for you.
You wake up and you pass out on the couch and it says, "Hey, do you want to watch episode 38?" And you're like, "What did I miss? What did I miss? What did I miss?" And you go back and go all the way back to 2.
Maybe we're going to talk about estate planning or something.
You know that technology's coming where when you fall asleep on the couch, Netflix automatically just stops, right?
Yeah.
It says you fell asleep here.
You
fell asleep here. Yeah, that's right. That's right. So, good stuff. Prior to the break, we're talking about 3 ways to transfer your family business to your siblings, who on this wonderful sibling day you're getting along with.
So why am I transferring it to my? So we're talking about if let's say you and I are brothers, we practically are. So we have a business together, and I'm going to transfer I'm going to sell out. Is that what we're talking about?
Well, it's usually mom and dad have a family business. They've been running the family business for 1,000,000 years. And now they're trying to figure out, okay, mom and dad are ready to move on, and they're ready to figure out, we're not move on in the physical sense. They're ready to step away from the business. That's right. They're ready to step away from the business, and they're ready to turn the keys over to somebody else. Now, I know we've talked about this on the show before. In some cases, depending on how many siblings are involved, sometimes there's one sibling, maybe 2, who are very, very involved in the business, and they've been the heart and soul of the business for the last 10 years, and they've been mom and dad's right-hand person, and they're really involved in it. And in many cases, they expect, well, this is going to come my way, right? Why wouldn't it? I've been running the business for X numbers of years. You jamokes haven't been doing anything. I've been keeping the whole thing going. So these are the things that you want to try to get in front of. You got to plan these things ahead of time, right? And you can do this a couple of ways. And there's 3 ways that we're going to talk about today. One of the easiest ways might be to sit down and say, look, I know that you, sibling number 1 or kid number 1 or whatever you want to call it, have been involved in this business. But you know what? I'm going to treat it like an arm's length transaction. And we're going to treat you like we would treat anybody.
Like I was selling the business to anybody else.
Yeah, right? we're going to sell it. Yeah, but mom and dad are putting the business up for sale. And if the kids want to buy in, if that's what they want to do, because maybe unless there's been some pre-planning, maybe they've just been employees of the business all these years. So mom and dad are going to say, look, we're selling the business. It could be sold to you, one of the kids who've been involved in the business, and the price is X amount of dollars. Or it could be sold to some third party. We're going to get a business broker in here. We're going to find out what the business is worth. We'll do a valuation. And then
if you want to buy it, we're taking you to the cleaners.
Yeah. Well, we're going to take you to the woodshed, just like we'd take anybody else to the woodshed. But that's one way to do it. And in many cases, when we talk to clients about planning for a lot of these things, we try to tell people, in many cases, the easiest way to handle this is to treat, unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on how you look at it, treat everybody like they're not a family member.
Well, I don't think it's a bad thing at all. And I don't think, particularly, and you brought up the example of, well, let's say you have 3 family members, right? Three siblings, right, on National Sibling Day. Right now, they're probably getting ready to have lunch together. 3 siblings that, and there's, let's say one that's really involved with the business. Let's say one sort of kind of works in the business, but is, you know, not one of the main. And then there's another one who doesn't work in the business at all, right?
Yeah.
So remember, particularly would depend upon the type of business, but the business is an asset.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
So the business. So first things first. If the business is worth $1 million, let's say it's a law practice business that has retainers, or a financial planning practice that has a book of business, and it's worth money.
Yeah.
Right. It's worth. So in other words, like for somebody who has a business that has value, when they die, that's part of their estate. There's something of value there. So if it's simply, well, hey, you know what, Bob's worked at the business his whole life, or his whole adult life, and Mary, his sister, she doesn't have any part of it. It's still, at the end of the day, it's part of that estate that needs to that's going to get transferred. Now, granted, it's not getting transferred upon death. It's not. We're not saying that the parents are checking out, but they're going to pass this business on to somebody, and that has to be taken into consideration. So, like you said, the easiest thing to do for everybody concerned is to push everybody back away from the table and say, here's the deal. This business is worth X amount of dollars, and this is part of our estate. And we're considering that we're taking that into consideration when we think about like the remainder of the estate.
Well, and to your point, I mean, you mentioned one of those scenarios, which comes up all the time, which is there's been some family member who's been working in the business, okay? And for any number of reasons, that family member may feel like, I have some type of greater claim to this asset than my other siblings do, right? And I guess you kind of think about it as, well, forget that it's a business. Forget that, what if it was a Cape Cod property or a vacation property up in Maine? Would you make the same argument that says, hey, look, I went down to Cape all the time to visit mom and dad, and I visited them more than you visited them. So for some reason, I now believe that I have a greater claim to this property. Or you hear a lot of, you know, I've worked in the business and I haven't taken a paycheck, or I haven't. So a lot of these issues, ideally,
that's a different issue. The whole, like, I worked in the business, I haven't taken a paycheck.
Well, but I guess my point is, you hear this a lot when you're talking about how a business should be divided up. And if there's 3 siblings and some of them have to some degree been more or less involved, that's what you're going to hear, right? You're going to hear that I either worked in the business and got paid, but I didn't get paid what I should have got paid. Or I worked in the business, I didn't get paid at all. Rarely do you hear somebody say, hey, you know what? I was the most involved with the business of mom and dad. They paid me a wage for doing all the work that I did for them, and I now think that the business should be split evenly amongst the 3 of us. Rarely do you hear that, because there's always somebody's claim that I've been pulling the rope more than my other siblings, and now that it's time to distribute or transfer this asset, it should be transferred differently, or it should be transferred in different proportions. And this is where you have to stop treating it like you got to treat it like just a regular old asset. Let's come up with a valuation, and then let's figure out who's going to get what.
So, right, because there's this nebulous gray area, right? So let's say you and I have worked in a business. Say we own a business, and let's say you're a silent partner, or no, even better. Let's say our parents own a business. You haven't worked in it, and I did, right? So. And I've worked in the business for 20 years with Dad. Let's say it's called a construction business, right? So I've helped him build this business, right? So I don't have any ownership in the business. I've never bought into the business. I don't have any stock in the corporation.
No skin in the game other than your W-2.
That's right. I don't own our building. I don't own any property. I don't own any of our equipment. All I am is let's say I'm a well-paid employee, but let's say I'm the main project manager. Let's say I run the business now.
You could be the rainmaker.
Exactly.
Yes.
So let's say when we started back in 1999 or 1989 or whenever, and moving forward, and our business was worth nothing back then, and now we're getting ready to transfer this business.
Yeah, and now it's $10 million worth of revenue.
It's a $10 million business, and that's the valuation of the business. I could have a very strong argument and say, whoa, you know what? I built that. I helped make this business to what it's worth. Now, I'm not saying that means I'm entitled to everything.
Sure.
But then you kind of have the argument and say, well, if the business is worth $10 million and now we're going to transfer the ownership over to me because I obviously want to continue the business, does that mean that I get it all, or I get the lion's share of it, or do we split it absolutely evenly, even though I'm the one who kind of, I had my skin in the game this whole time?
Well, and so as the neutral third party, I would look at that and I would say, look, you've been getting paid a salary the whole way through. Unfortunately, right, from my perspective, if I'm advocating for your parents, I would say, look, I know that your name is the same name as mom and dad's, but guess what? You're an employee of the firm.
That's right.
You're no different than the other guy who's the other construction project manager or the other rainmaker, and your deal is the same as his deal. And he has no claim to the business, and you're entitled to a third of the business. That's what we're operating off the three-sibling approach. You're entitled to a third, but you're not entitled to more than that because for any number of reasons, that never got formalized. That never got worked out.
Yeah.
You never said to Dad either,
I need some stock in the business.
That's right. That's right. I need some ownership interest, and that conversation never happened. And now I always feel like when this happens, I always want to say to people, well, we can't go back now because there's really no way at this point to go back and say, well, let's try to figure out how much of that $10 million is really yours. Because first of all, Dad's going to say, it's my business, I did it, right? Because Dad's very possessive of the business.
And dads are dads. Dads are dads, right? So yeah, if it was my old man, he'd be saying, look, thanks for your help.
Yeah.
It was great, but this was me. I did
That's
this.
right.
Yeah.
That's right. So there's that part of it. So I guess for purposes of transferring the business, if you're going to sell the business, I think you come up with a third party, objective assessment of what the company's worth, and then you put that number on the table and you say, look, there's 3 of you here. 2 of them might say, we want no interest. We could care less. We've never worked in the business. Sibling 3 has always worked in the business. Let them buy it. Let them write you a check.
And buy us out.
The business is theirs. They get a $10 million business. Mom and Dad get $10 million of cash money, and then they can split up their $10 million whatever way they want to split it up. And if he gets 3 and I get 3 and somebody else gets 3, then he can throw that $3 million towards his $10 million loan, and he's way ahead of the curve. It's no different than sort of divvying up some other asset, bank account, brokerage account. It's an asset, to your point in the beginning. Stop thinking of it the way it is. Treat it like a business transaction.
The other example would be, let's say there were 2 guys, right? Like 2 guys that were the main guys in the business. One was the son of the owner, and one was not. One was just some guy who they hired 20 years ago. They hired we started working at the same time. If when you get to the point of where we're going to sell the business, that person who is the son may feel like, oh, I'm entitled to be able to get some of this. But the other guy who's not a relative, he's like, well, I did the same stuff that you did. I helped build this business. I could argue that I did just as much as you did to help us get to a $10 million business. Yet you wouldn't think, well, he's not entitled to anything because he doesn't own any stock, right?
That's right.
So it's the same thing. It's the same thing. So regardless of whether or not you're related, the legality of it is if you don't own any, if you're not an owner in that corporation, then you're an employee.
That's right.
You got paid, you got bonuses, you got maybe benefits, you got just the same.
Yeah, you might have got a company car, something that somebody else doesn't
all
get.
Kinds of good stuff.
Yeah, you get time off, you got more flexibility because you're a family member, but you're an employee.
You're no more right. And so now the one catch to that is, so particularly in our construction business example, so if I'm the main guy in the construction, and essentially I'm running the show now. My dad's like, he's gone 6 months of the year, he's in Florida playing golf or whatever, right? So I'm running the show. So if the business were to get sold tomorrow, I would be a big part of that business. I would be if some other third party was going to buy the business, then they'd be like, okay, yeah, we'll buy the business so long as you stay here for X amount and are contractually obligated to stay with the business for 2 or 3 years, whatever. So that's another factor to consider. Say, okay, well, the reason that the business is what it is because I'm a part of it.
That's right, and that's something that'll be recognized as part of the valuation.
Exactly.
Right,
exactly.
and you'll get a contract, or somebody will come up to you and say, look, we want you to hang around for 3 or 4 more years. Here's the contract we're going to give you. But make no mistake about it. When the paperwork is signed and that property and that the business transfers to this other group or this other organization, you're in the same position you were in before the paperwork gets signed, right? The only difference was Dad wasn't going to fire you for the most part, but now these guys, it is a business transaction. Right. If you don't hold up your end of the deal, you are out the door. Contract over, voided, done. You take truck away, go home. You're fired. No job anymore. So this is really more about recognizing that this is something that you want to work out early on. If you think this is what you want to do, there needs to be a family discussion that says, He's working in the business. I think I'm going to transfer the business to him. I'm going to adjust my estate plan accordingly, and I'm going to level it out other areas,
too, right?
and let's figure it out that way.
So think about it in terms of, so if I have two siblings on National Sibling Day who we're the business is worth $9 million, and we're each going to get a $3 million. We're each entitled to a $3 million cut of this business. So if I'm the only one working in the business, that means now I got to pay you two clowns $6 million, right? I have to buy you guys out of this business so I can own it outright, right?
Yep.
And that may not happen overnight. That may not happen, because it may be we may have to set up
some financing issues, things like
that.
Yeah.
Exactly,
yeah,
right.
Those things don't happen overnight.
Yeah, and so but then if I have a 10-year note to buy you guys out of the business, that's a tax on my business, right? That's a cost that's coming out of my business, or a cost that's coming out of my pocket. So you mentioned the whole idea of the adjusting the estate plan. That's something that I think would if there's other assets in the estate, and say, okay, listen, I'm giving you the $10 million business. We have other assets that we can adjust. Say, okay, so we can compensate. So maybe you'd have the ability to give them the business, and then they're giving them the business.
Giving them the business. Hey, giving the kids a business.
And then adjust, say, if you have property or have monies or something like that, to kind of compensate the other two in the estate plan.
Well, so it's almost
you need an estate planning.
It's almost like we planned this. It's almost like we planned this. So another way, we're going to move on to the second way. Another way to handle this transition of your business from, let's say, mom and dad to another generation, is to do it through the use of a buy and sell agreement, right? Which basically says, hey, if we want to get rid of the business, these members of the family might want to buy the business. And you mentioned, equalizing the estate plan. One of the ways, or one of the very frequent ways, that you see this type of arrangement financed is through the use of life insurance, right? So mom or dad will put together a policy that says, hey, the policy is designed to cover the transfer of our estate to our business to the kids, and whether the company owns the business. This is a little deeper than we can cover on the radio, but the idea is that you will put in place an insurance plan that says, at the untimely demise of somebody, the beneficiaries of this estate will get an insurance company payout, and then they will use that insurance company payout to buy
the stock.
That's right, to buy the company and own the company. And so, using the example that you just mentioned, if everybody would have to pony up $3 million to buy out the company, there would be a life insurance policy in place that says, look, it's going to provide liquidity for everybody so that you can figure out who's going to buy what. The company might pay those premiums. One of the other members in the family might pay those premiums. More often than not, it'll be the company to say, look, we've arranged this buy-sell agreement. If we're not around, something happens, money's going to hit the table, and then there's liquidity to transfer the company to the person who wants the company, other people to get paid the money that they want because they have no interest in the company, and everybody still is talking to each other on National Siblings Day. Right?
All right,
that's the idea.
Let's take a quick break, and then I'll talk about. I'm going to throw one monkey wrench in your plan.
Oh boy, here we go.
Well, it's not a monkey wrench, but it's another thing to consider when from the business side. So the business is a living and breathing asset. We'll talk about what happens if there is no buy-sell agreement, or if when mom and dad transfer the business over to the three siblings, then the three siblings are instantly partners.
Oh, so even better.
We'll talk about that when we come back on Money in the Law on MyFM 101.3, Hollis and Cable Access TV, HCAT. Jay Marsden from the Marsden Law Group, an esteemed estate planning attorney right down on Washington Street. And I'm John Drohan. We will be right back.
And you're back. Money Law, MyFM 101.3, Jay Marsden of the Marsden Law Group, and John Drohan, NFR Financial. We're giving you the business here on MyFM today, Saturday, Money Law, talking about how to transfer family businesses. So stick around, stay tuned for continuing to get the business from us.
Stay right where you are.
That's right, don't move. Prior to the break, we were talking about two things. We were talking about transferring a business by just selling it outright. Whether you sell it to a third party that's unrelated to the family or not part of the family org chart, or you sell it to somebody within the family. But the idea is treat it like an arm's length transaction. Get a third party objective assessment of what the company's worth, the valuation. Keep everybody happy. No one's got their thumb on the scale. Part two was the possibility of using a buy-sell agreement, which is usually funded with some life insurance that says, hey, if somebody passes away, the life insurance is designed to provide liquidity so that the people who want to buy the business can get the business. People who want to get the money can get the money. and everybody can go about their business, right? So that works out fine.
And business as usual.
It's business as usual. And you were saying before the break that you were throwing a monkey wrench in the whole
All right,
works.
so let's just say that mom and dad are. We'll say we'll use the construction company example. So dad's done. Said I'm done. I'm done being. And I know that you can't afford to buy Billy Bob out, and I know you can't afford to buy Marriott, but at some point we're gonna, our estate's gonna get settled. So here's the deal. I'm essentially giving you the business, but your brother and sister own a third of this business.
You're all going to own it together.
Yeah,
dad is blind to the family dysfunction that is right in front of his eyes.
Yeah. So you're all in it together. So if I'm the guy, I'm the one who's actually running the business. That's great. So now so let's say my dad was getting a hefty salary. So that's good. So that I no longer have to pay that, right? And or now maybe there's some sort of like the business is going to buy him out, right? So but we're all on the hook for it. But the problem is now, remember, my brother and my sister, they're not part of the business.
Nope,
they have their own job. They have their own
on the
stuff.
fringe.
They have their own stuff.
Yep.
So now, what do I have immediately? I have two new partners in my business. Where before I just had to manage my old man, and I probably did a good job.
And that was a challenge. That was a challenge, right? Managing dad was a challenge.
Yeah. Yep. So we worked together for 20 years. I mean, how great would that be? However, I'm sure there were some bumps in that road.
Oh yeah.
So now I have two new partners, and they're my siblings, right? Who do I love more than my siblings on this earth? Nobody.
Nobody.
Almost nobody, right? And especially on National Sibling Day. But let's say National Sibling Day comes and goes, and now we're right back to all the other 364 days, right? 364, which is not National Sibling Day. So I have two new partners, and guess what? I'm an adult. Maybe I'm married, and even worse or better or great or whatever, but maybe my new partners, maybe they have spouses as well.
And their spouses may have opinions.
Their spouses may have some really, really strong opinions or good opinions, or their spouses just may be like now all of a sudden interested because, hey, I just, we're a partner in 1/3 of a $9 million business.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
That's real money. Hey, let's do that. Right. And all of a sudden they start spending their money. They're driving new cars because now they think, hey, isn't this awesome?
Well,
right?
what they expect is that, and could be the arrangement, right? What they're expecting is a third. Yeah. They're expecting a third of gross of all the revenue, right? They're expecting a third of the net revenue that comes in.
Which, if they're a shareholder, right? If it's a corporation, they're a shareholder, right? The business makes
entitled to it.
Yep, the business makes $8 million. Let's say the business makes $9 million that year, right?
Yep.
After they pay their costs, right? They pay their costs. Say the cost was $6 million. I'm doing this easy math, right?
Yep.
So their cost was $6 million. There's a $3 million profit.
Yep.
A $3 million profit. Guess what? As a shareholder, I'm entitled to $1 million of that. Right, that's my share. I'm going to pay. If it's an S corporation, guess who's paying taxes on it?
Well,
me.
And they usually show up around January 2nd, right? They want to know how the end of the year went, right?
How'd you do?
January 2nd. Haven't shown a lick of interest in the business for 30 years or 20 years that Dad was running it.
Right.
Now all of a sudden it's January 3rd, and all of a sudden they Googled whatever the business that Dad was in for 100 years. I think construction for dummies, right? And they want to know. All of a sudden they're a tax attorney. All of a sudden, are their siblings as a tax attorney?
It's funny. It's like, oh, you didn't realize your last name was Toll? Yeah. You're the Toll brothers, right?
Yeah, that's right. And maybe there's 5 of them, now there's 2 of them, right? Who knows? There's a million of these stories out there. But all of a sudden, they want to know everything that's going on. And not only do they want to know everything that's going on, but they want you to explain it to them. And they also want to second guess every decision that up until this point you've essentially made on your own with maybe some of Dad's input. Hopefully not, right? You kind of say, I got a dad, and Dad said, fine, you take care of it. Now you have, not only do you have two partners, but you might even feel like you have 2 bosses, right? Because they want to know everything that's going on.
Right. They want to sit in on the board meetings. They want to say, so give us the what's our quarterly estimates, revenue projections for the next 2 quarters, and you're like, what are you talking?
That's financial word salad. You're just reading stuff off that you read somewhere. What are you talking about?
And so, other than the fact that it'll be an exhausting headache to have partners as part of this, the other part of it is that they're entitled to that income. They're entitled, which in the old days was going towards, whoever the owners. If your dad was the sole owner, then he was taking all that in, right?
Yeah.
And so now the other part of this is that, and that's probably included in your costs, is if there's a buyout piece, right? But at the end of the day, the business is going to make some money, right?
Oh yeah,
that's why it exists. It's going to make some money, and you're going to have to split that money with the other two partners who all of a sudden are involved.
Well, actually, no, you're not going to have to split it, because your answer to them is, wait a minute, you think you're going to get a third, and you're going to get a third, and I'm going to get a third?
Yeah.
You two are sitting home. I'm doing all the work, so I'll take more in salary.
So we're getting a bonus,
right? That's right. Yep. And that, of course, changes that profit number. It changes that profit number. So now you're saying, well, why are we all splitting the profit a third, and then you got the big salary, and you're driving around in the brand new F-150, and you get the corporate credit card, and you're doing all this other stuff.
It's definitely an F-150.
Why? It's always
an
construction.
F-150.
It's always F-150, right? So why is that happening, and why am I? And then they start.
Because then they start asking, why are you paying this guy that much? Yeah, exactly.
And then it starts turning into, why am I paying for this? Right? It's like, well, because this is how the business has been run up until now, and you've been, blissfully unaware of how this whole operation has worked. And this is where.
I know, by the way, you got all new windows 3 years ago. Yeah.
Yep. Dad wrote you a couple of checks, as paid for some college tuition. Dad did this. Dad did that. Well, that doesn't work that way anymore, right? Those are things that Dad was doing. Now it's a business, right? Now we might as well be three strangers, unfortunately. Now you might as well own stock in a company that you have at a brokerage account somewhere, and you're just on. You're part of the process. But you don't own the process. And they do own the process, because they say, look, I'm an owner. I'm
in the defense of the owner, right? In the defense of let's call it the non-involved party.
Managing sibling.
The non-involved. No, I'm talking about the other two, right? Yeah. So if let's say if you put yourself in their shoes, so let's say, right, this is what it is, right? I've inherited this business, and as an owner, I am required to pay taxes on this, because if it depending on the corporation type, but if it's an S corporation, then that's going to pass through. So if I assume a $500,000 or $300,000 or $200,000 income, then that's going to affect my tax situation. I have to. It may raise my tax bracket. I mean, so. Now, granted, I'm not bummed out that I'm getting an extra $200,000, and so I have to pay taxes on it. But in the fact of the matter is I do have a say. I do have interest in how this business is run.
Yes.
So on the one hand, if everybody's making money and we all get along, and the one managing partner is full disclosure and says, here's how it works, and if I understand it and I agree to it, right? And that's the other thing, I agree to it, then okay, then I'm good. But if it's, hey, oh yeah, this year we didn't make any money because this and that, and oh yeah, we have another negative year. Don't worry, you don't have to pay taxes, but he's driving a brand new truck. Everybody else is driving brand new cars. There's everybody got bonuses this year.
There seems to be a lot of money floating around. Why am I not getting it?
Exactly. So you could say, from that perspective, you're like, whoa, now, this is the way it worked, and unfortunately, you never bought into the business. You never had any extra stock in the business. So I have a say in this. As an owner, I have the absolute right to say I agree or disagree, or you need to explain to me why we're doing this.
Right. So that can become problematic, to say the least. And then from there, it just becomes. And by the way, and these are the stories, and then we'll touch on one other thing real quick before we wrap for the day. But these are the things that you see in the Globe, right? These are the things that show up in the Times. Stories about a family business that had been run for 1,000,000 years by a certain matriarch, patriarch. Everything was working out fine, and then at some point, it down the org chart, and at some point, everybody doesn't get along. Everybody can't agree, and in a lot of cases, it's not. It's not the Walton family, right, saying, look, this company is so big that it's got its own separate board of directors, and we got shares in the company, and there's a ton of money coming our way. These are companies that are small, family-run operations that aren't the Waltons. It's not Standard Oil. I mean, these are companies where everybody knows the players, and it's different, right? And those other companies, they have their own family squabbling and their own family fights. They're just bigger, but it's the same issue. It's who owns what and who's in control.
And at the end of the day, right? At the end of the day, it's like, look, if I'm the managing partner and I'm the one growing this business, and I don't want to, and you know, I'm doing this knowing full well that I have 2 other partners, right? So I'm growing the business, so I know I'm making, you know, I'm making 33 cents on the dollar, I guess, if you can kind of look at it that way. So if I don't like that, right? Let's say I love my brother and my sister, I'm like, all right, you know what? We're all going to get rich together because of me. You can thank me later, right? You know, and or if I don't like that, or if I don't want to share, then I need to figure out a way to buy them out.
That's right. I'm either buying them out or we're selling it and we're all taking our money and we're going to run separate ways. And that doesn't mean you won't go back into the business. That means you won't start your own separate, non-competing, because we're shutting this business down. I'm going to give you your money. I'm going to go my own way. Those are always an option.
There's a lot of different ways to skin the cat if you don't like the way if you don't like the way it's working.
Right. And the get out can be harder than the get in, but the get out can also leave a mark. So you want to make sure you talk it through and figure out what's the best way to go. The last option is obviously you can transfer, you know, to one of our favorite planning techniques. You can always transfer the company into a trust. Okay.
True that.
And the trust, which could have beneficiaries, and the beneficiaries could be the 2 siblings who aren't involved in the business. The trustee of the trust could be the sibling who is the most involved in the business, and then everybody's interests are protected. The sibling who's the trustee can say, I'm going to run the business. We're going to run the business like a business. We're going to run it the same exact way we did when Mom and Dad were alive. You're going to get your trust distributions as beneficiaries of this trust. And if you don't like it, well, you know what? There's a way to solve this. We go to court. The trustee, myself, will go and get in front of the court and say, Your Honor, this is what the trust says. This is what I'm doing. These guys are a little sour grapes, but we'll figure it out. But for right now, they're getting everything they should be getting. And then a third party can come in and say, everything's fine. You're getting what you should be getting. Enough's enough. You know, move forward.
Yeah.
And that way, it's a clear path as to who's in charge. And it involves avoiding the scenario that you just mentioned, which is in many cases the kiss of death for these arrangements is you get forced into these partnership arrangements with people who don't understand the business, don't understand what goes into it, and then somehow it becomes your responsibility to educate and to coach them up on it, and they don't always like the answers. And so this is something that you got to figure out.
So, and again, depending upon the size of your business, maybe having some outside disinterested third party be the trustee of that trust, that could be your answer. Because then it's like, hey, you know, I'm the president of this construction company. That's what my job is, to run this company, and I answer to the board of directors. You guys all sit on the board of directors, and oh, by the way, all of the distribution, everything happens via the trustee, and it's not me. It's these guys that we pay, and it's their job, because when they say I'm a trustee, that I'm a fiduciary. I'm going to act in the best interest of my clients, and I'm going to be fair and disinterested in how this works. Here's how it is. If you don't like it.
Well, before we close, you can even go out and hire a management company to say, look, you know what? All right, we're not even going to be involved in the management company anymore. These guys are going to manage the company. I'm going to be treated just an employee, just like you guys.
Yeah.
We'll get our distributions decided by somebody who's not me, who's not us. And this way, we step back. We let these people run the structure of the company. We kind of work together as maybe they're board members, right? Maybe they're on the member of the board. We all agree on who the chairman of the board should be, and kind of work all that stuff to figure it out. I knew you were going to say that. I knew.
Frank Sinatra.
I
would make him the chairman of the board every time. Mr. Sinatra, would you be willing to be the chairman of our board?
He'd say, of course I am. What else do I do?
I'm the chairman of every board I walk into.
Best picture I ever saw, then we'll close up. Best picture I ever saw was a picture of a helicopter, and Frank Sinatra is stepping out of the helicopter in a 3-piece suit and a fedora, and he's got a glass of whiskey in his hand. And at the bottom of the picture it says, you might think you're cool. You're not Frank Sinatra stepping out of a helicopter with a glass of whiskey in your hand cool. And I thought to myself, who's cooler than the chairman of the board? Who's cooler than him? Nobody. So that's it. So be nice to your siblings on National Sibling Day.
Yeah.
And if you own a company
just
together,
call them,
work it out.
Text them.
And if you can't work it out, call me and John.
Yeah.
We'll work it out for you.
We'll talk to everybody next week on Money in the Law. If you have any more questions or you want to talk to us, go to moneyinthelaw.net and see some video. You can see some good information. You can contact us, moneyinthelaw.net.
Schedule a consultation, whatever you want to do.
Schedule a free consultation.
Yes.
We'll see everybody next week on MyFM 101.3, Hollis and Cable Access TV. Christian, we'll see you next time.
Have a great week, everybody.